The last time this happened, it was right before the SATs. Everyone in my class found a points exchange app downloaded on their phones. You could trade your future SAT score for all sorts of things. A broke classmate traded 10 points for 100,000. A girl traded 100 points for the face of a movie star and a supermodel's body. The rich kid spent 300 points on a brilliant mind for business. I was the only one who said it. Something this game-breaking. Are you sure there won't be a catch? But then they found out. I was the only one with the reset app. All I had to do was press a button, and all their rewards would be wiped clean. So the entire class ganged up, drained my points, and got me erased by the system. Now I get a second chance. As everyone excitedly cashes in their points for prizes, I'll keep quiet, waiting until every last person has made their trade. Then my hunt will officially begin. 7 days remaining until the SATs. A cold, robotic voice echoed in my head. I jolted awake at my desk and looked up. The classroom was tense. Everyone was scribbling furiously, terrified of wasting a single second of this final review time. Just then a ding from a notification system rang out above us. SAT Points Exchange app has been bound. Would the host like to begin exchanging? Suddenly, every phone in the classroom went off at once. The class president was the first to pull out his phone, a confused look on his face. A moment later, he gasped. What is this? A points exchange app? Who downloaded this on my phone? One by one, the other students pulled out their phones. Is this some check-in app the school made? Is this like for real? A system? Did we get chosen by Lady Luck? Is this the start of the main quest? I watched my classmates' reactions with cold detachment. I was back. I had actually been reborn 7 days before the SATs. Right at the moment the points exchange app was bound to us. In my last life, on this exact morning, this SAT points exchange app was automatically installed on everyone's phones. You couldn't delete or uninstall it. Opening the app automatically brought up your student profile. The most crucial part was, it showed your future SAT score. And right next to the score was an exchange button. 1 point equals 100,000 and 20 points equals 2,000,000. Anyone could trade their future SAT points for cash. But if it were just for money, it wouldn't have been that special. This app could be used to get anything that existed in the real world. Last time, someone successfully traded points for the face of a movie star and a supermodel's body. Someone traded for a brilliant business mind. Someone traded for the affection of their crush. And someone else traded to get their divorced parents back together. As long as you could afford the points, you could get anything. It wasn't an app, it was a wishing tree. Everyone went insane, frantically using the app to make their dreams come true. I was the only one who said it. Something this game-breaking. Are you sure there won't be a catch? Because besides the exchange app, I had one more app than they did. It was called Reset. Just like the name implied, anything they got from the app, all I had to do was press a button, and it would all be wiped clean. It showed that I could cancel the reward of any student whose score hit 0, and I would get their reward for myself. In response to my question, someone quickly shot back with disdain. What kind of catch could there be? The worst that happens is I lose a few points on the SATs, right? But with my grades, even if I do well, I'll probably just end up at a state school. Am I ever going to make this kind of money after I graduate? But some of the smarter ones picked up on the hint in my words. They insisted on seeing my phone. And they found it, the extra app one had. An app that held their lives in its hands. Even though I never once thought about canceling anyone's reward. Most of the class started looking at me with hostility. Someone suggested they take my phone and keep it from me until after the SATs, so I'd have no chance to reset them. But they quickly realized that as soon as I got a new phone, the software would just install itself again. Then, someone deliberately fanned the flames of their fear. And so they decided to eliminate the threat, me. When they all carved up my points, and my score hit 0, the app announced that I was being erased. But I never expected everything to be reset. I was back on the day the app was bound. This time, I'm the only werewolf in the game. In the classroom, everyone was huddled together. They all had their phones out. A student, let's call him Alex, said, This app shows my future SAT score. It says I got a 1450. That's way higher than my practice tests. The math whiz pushed up his glasses. It says we can exchange points for anything. Who's willing to risk 1 point to see if it's real? The app says you can only exchange points before the SATs. After the test, it's useless. But if we spend the points, will there be some side effect we don't know about? Last time, I was the first one they suspected, because I refused to use my points for anything. This time, I decided to make the first move. So when no one was looking, I secretly dragged the Reset app into a hidden folder and put a password on it. Then, I carefully took out my phone. I'll try it. What if it's real? I pretended to fiddle with my phone, quickly using 1 point to get 100,000. A moment later, my Venmo balance showed an extra 100,000. Everyone's eyes turned red with greed. It's real. You can actually get stuff. Everyone clutched their phones. Excitedly, they started calculating what they could get with their scores. But a few people were more rational. The class president, for example, said cautiously, "Everyone, let's be careful before we start trading. What if spending points actually lowers our SAT scores? If you have more points than you need for your target school, then maybe it's okay to spend the extra." The ones who listened started doing the math. But the students with lower scores just scowled. Finally, Kevin, the guy at the bottom of the class rankings, burst out in frustration. "My family doesn't have the money to send me to college anyway. I'm just gonna be working construction after graduation. Besides, with my score, I'm not getting into college, so I might as well cash out." Ignoring everyone's warnings, he immediately spent 100 SAT points. Instantly, his bank account had an extra 10 million. He was ecstatic, shouting that he was a millionaire, and who the hell needed college. Then he opened up an online shopping app and started buying up expensive gaming consoles, computers, and all sorts of things. He found he could spend every dollar. And his app now showed SAT score remaining 180. With him as a test case, everyone else relaxed and was eager to try. At that moment, the math whiz Ethan, who had been quiet the whole time, suddenly spoke up. "I've been thinking about this, and it's basically a grandfather paradox. If spending points lowers our future SAT scores, then how did we get these high scores in the first place? There's only one possibility. It doesn't actually affect our real scores. This is a gift from fate. There are no side effects." Someone immediately agreed. "Yeah, this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Even if it does lower our scores, big deal, we can just retake the test next year. Plus, with the money we can get, we'll be millionaires. Who needs college then?" With that, the speaker went back to his seat, phone in hand, already planning his next move. Faced with all this, I put my phone away and said nothing. A mocking smile touched my lips as I watched them celebrate. This was just the beginning. Once most of them had spent their surplus points, their greed would grow infinitely. Faced with the choice between college and becoming rich overnight, most people would make their choice. And when the first person spends all their points, they'll discover the app's other hidden rule. Anyone with a zero balance will be erased by the system, and everything they acquired will be split among the rest of the class. That's when the real bloodshed begins. Just then, Ethan walked over to me and said quietly, "Chloe, what are you planning to get? With your score, you should be able to get pretty much anything on there, right?" I watched him sharply. Ethan, the math whiz. In my last life, he was the first one to discover my Reset app. He was a master manipulator. To protect his own rewards, he deliberately turned the other students against me. He was always ranked first in our class, with me right behind at number 2. In front of this guy, I couldn't show the slightest weakness. I pretended to be hesitant. "I'm thinking of trading for cash too. My family isn't struggling like Kevin's, but we're not rich either. Besides, my score isn't that great this time." Ethan thought for a moment, then tapped my desk with his long fingers. "How many points do you have left in your account?" My score was exactly 650. Right now, points were wealth. They had just gotten the app and had no idea how the in-game worked. A lot of people exposed their high scores right from the start. It made them easy targets for later. But I had acted fast. No one had seen my score. And I had volunteered to test the waters with 1 point. In Ethan's eyes, I was probably just some reckless girl he could use. I shook my head. Not many. Ethan leaned in closer. You know, you could just spend it all. I've already figured out a loophole in this app. If you can trade for anything, you could probably just trade points directly for a spot at the school you want. Harvard, Yale, as long as you have the points, you should be able to get in. My eyes widened. This was different from last time. Back then, everyone was still being cautious at this point. Only the kids who weren't going to college anyway were cashing in their points like crazy. Most of the better students only dared to trade for small amounts of money. The theory that you could trade for a spot at a top school didn't come up until 4 days before the SATs. And it was Ethan who proposed it. Why was he bringing it up so early this time? I feigned a look of surprise. If that's true, we could go to college and get our wishes? I'm going to have to really think about this. Ethan patted my shoulder. His voice turned soft and intimate. Actually, I've liked you for a long time. I was going to wait until after our scores came out to tell you, but I don't think I need to now. We could trade for spots at Harvard together. He showed me his app. It showed that getting into Harvard only cost 350 points. I laughed coldly to myself. Here we go again, the same old trick. Last time, Ethan confessed to me just like this. He had figured out the app's hidden rules early on, and used our relationship as an excuse to look at my phone, where he found my reset app. After all, he was number 1 in class, and I was number 2. He had the most points. And if he wanted to take someone else's points, I was the prime candidate. Once he got the information he needed from me, he promptly used the others to vote me out, carving up my rewards and getting me erased by the app. I wasn't falling for it this time. I didn't say a word, just pretended to be shy. Let me think about it. I couldn't make an enemy of Ethan yet. I had to use something else to distract him. Our conversation was a little too obvious. My deskmate, Lily, was the first to notice. She frowned, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Can't you tell, Ethan? Chloe's not into you. Besides, with this points app, she's about to be rich. Obviously, she's going to go for some handsome pretty boy with a better body. Ethan's face darkened. He wasn't ugly, in fact. He was one of the better-looking guys in our class. But his family was poor, and he was always studying, so he didn't pay much attention to his appearance. He was naturally a little insecure. Lily's words hit him right where it hurt. Ethan shot her a glare but didn't say much, just told me to take my time and think about it. Then he left the classroom. Lily looked like she was about to follow him, but I stopped her. Lily, what was that about? I've never looked down on Ethan. I just think he only likes me for my looks, you know? He doesn't actually know me. I'm not as great as he thinks. I was deliberately playing the innocent victim to provoke her. Lily was supposed to be my best friend, but last time, she teamed up with Ethan to betray me. All because she had a secret crush on him. When she found out about my reset app later on, she was the one who suggested to Ethan that they vote to drain all my points, which led to me being erased. My words did the trick. Lily was furious. She shook my hand off. Oh, give me a break. You think you're so pretty, always showing off. Just wait. Once I use my points to get some money, I'm going to get surgery and look like a celebrity. With the app, Lily didn't have to pretend to be nice to me anymore. Her tone became much more direct. But I tried to reason with her. That's not what I meant. Besides, plastic surgery has risks. It would be great if the app could just give you a pretty face and a great body, with no side effects or recovery time. Lily's eyes flickered. A moment later, as if she'd thought of something, she immediately pulled out her phone and started typing on the app. That's right. Last time, Lily used her points to get a new face and body. It wasn't cheap. Each one cost 100 points. She was spurred on by the fact that Ethan and I were together, and it led to my erasure. This time, my words just sped up the process. On the first day of the app's appearance, 20% of the class had made a trade. I found an empty corner and quietly opened the reset app on my phone. A leaderboard appeared, showing the people who had spent the most points. Kevin, 45% of points spent. Lily, 33% of points spent. Dylan, 20% of points spent. Once their progress bar hit 100%, a reset button would appear next to their name. I thought about what Ethan had said. If you could trade points for anything, what if he used points to find out about my reset app? I had to be prepared. This was my secret weapon. I couldn't let anyone find out about it. The next morning, not a single person was absent from class. The reason was simple. The exchange app only worked inside this classroom. It was a rule deliberately set by the app's creator, to gather us all in one place, to make us kill each other. Most of the students had new clothes. Some even looked different. Especially when Lily walked in. Everyone was stunned. She had a completely new look. Her face was as beautiful as a movie star's, and her figure was curvy, like an international supermodel. She walked in right after Ethan. She came over to me, looking at me smugly. This exchange system is amazing. I woke up this morning and looked like this. I stared at her, laughing coldly inside. In a few days, you won't be laughing. Once you start using the app, you've stepped into the devil's trap. No one gets out unscathed. I pretended to congratulate her. Seeing my flat expression, she seemed a little dissatisfied. What did you get last night? I don't see any changes in you. It was an easy psychology to understand. With this sudden windfall, everyone was getting things, but they were also worried that others had more left than they did. I feigned embarrassment. Ethan told me to trade for a spot at Harvard. There's no way I could get in with my real SAT score, so I figured I might as well just use the points. Lily's face fell. She immediately took out her phone to check her score. I glanced over and saw she only had 200 points left. Her SAT score was only 480. She'd spent 200 points on her looks and body, and she must have traded the other 80 for cash. 200 points wasn't enough to get into Harvard. Her expression turned grim. After a moment, she stared at me and sneered. Are you an idiot? It takes 350 points to get into Harvard. That's 35 million in cash. Even if you graduate from Harvard, are you ever going to make that much money? I shook my head. We have different goals. Lily muttered something nasty about me. Soon, she was telling everyone that I'd spent 350 points to get into Harvard. Before long, the whole class knew. They all looked at me like I was a moron. And that's exactly what I wanted. Only by letting them think I'd spent my points would they not suspect me. Ethan, standing nearby, looked at me, seeming like he wanted to say something. Chloe, I haven't made my trade yet. I want to wait and see, and use my points on the last day before the test. But don't worry, I'll join you at Harvard. Just as I thought. Ethan was a cunning fox. He wanted to let everyone else test the waters for him. Too bad for him. The app wouldn't let a single person slip through the cracks. The third day of the app, everyone received a new message on their phones. All prices have doubled. From now on, prices will increase daily. Before, 10 points could get you 1 million. Now it took 20 points. And so on. Ethan's face turned green. About half the class hadn't made any major trades yet. They were mostly waiting, having only spent a few points. When the message came, Kevin was the first to burst out laughing. Some of you were so scared of side effects, you didn't want to trade. You wanted other people to be your guinea pigs. Now you have to pay double. Huh? Serves you right. Just last night, Kevin had only 10 points left in his account. Lily also held her chin high with pride. TSK. Exactly. Good thing we cashed in on the first day. I got 8 million for 80 points. Anyone who still has points left should spend them now. Soon, they'll be worthless. There were also a couple of rich kids in the class. One of them hadn't been interested in trading for money. But now seeing this, he gritted his teeth and spent 300 points on a superstar business mind. He said smugly, you guys are all idiots. The money you get will run out eventually. But not me. My family's already rich. Now that I have this business brain, any stock I buy will skyrocket. I'll make way more money in the long run. His words were a wake-up call for almost everyone. They started trading for skills that would benefit them, not just cash. One guy had a crush on a girl for ages, but could never get her attention. He used his points to win her affection. Someone who was forced into a relationship by the app had to spend points to cancel it out. In a short time, most of the points had been spent. The list on my Reset app grew longer and longer. More and more people were running out of points. Even Ethan's name appeared on the list. Faced with the rising prices, he couldn't hold out any longer. But he was smart. He kept a reserve of 10 points in his account. As for me, I ignored the chaos and continued to study. I didn't need anything. The fourth day of the app. The system's electronic voice rang out again. All prices have quadrupled. Prices will continue to increase daily. For any student with a point balance of 0, a vote can be held to divide their rewards. Please choose whether to proceed. At the same time, several names appeared on the app. Kevin, Dylan, Lily, Mike, Sarah. Everyone was stunned. Especially Kevin and Lily. After the price increase was announced yesterday, they had cashed in every last point they had. And it wasn't just them. Out of 28 students in the class, 14 of them had emptied their accounts. Kevin slammed his hand on the desk. What's this app talking about? Other people can take our rewards? On what grounds? We didn't have many points to begin with. If anyone should be targeted, it should be the people with high scores. Kevin wasn't smart, but he was strong and was basically the class enforcer. To protect his own rewards, he immediately directed his anger at the students who usually got good grades and had high scores. Lily saw this and, without a second's hesitation, ran over to Kevin's side. He's right. All of us who spent our points, isn't it because we can't get into a good college anyway? That's why we spent it all. How many points did we even have? Kevin, I'm with you on this. I definitely won't vote for you. The other students who had also spent all their points gathered around Kevin. It was clear they wanted him to take the lead. As soon as the new rule came out, the previously friendly atmosphere in the class instantly split into two factions. One was the group of students who had spent all their points, and the other was the group who still had points left. Ethan, the rich kid, the class president, and a few other student leaders were all in the group with points remaining. Ethan looked at Kevin and his group. Calm down. We haven't figured out this new rule yet. Everyone spent their own points and got money or things they wanted. There's no need to take other people's rewards. Hearing this, Kevin's expression softened a little. You're right. We all got this windfall. The app gave us more money than we can spend, so we shouldn't be greedy for more. I'll make this clear right now. If anyone secretly votes to take my stuff, don't blame my fists for not recognizing you. Most people were scared of Kevin's fists and didn't dare to speak up for a moment. Of course, they were also afraid of getting into trouble themselves. Meanwhile, Ethan's group also gathered together, whispering amongst themselves. Both sides were wary of each other. But with this new rule, no one would let their account hit 0 anymore, especially not Ethan. I stood quietly in a corner, observing the scene. Last time, this rule about dividing up rewards appeared on this day. Everyone swore they wouldn't vote to take anyone else's rewards. But because I had the reset system, I became the first one to be targeted. And after me, there were new victims soon enough. Greed is a bottomless pit. But this time, I was reborn, and I knew the rules in advance. I opened my own exchange app. Besides showing the new rule, I had an extra notification. Congratulations. For not using any points during the app's duration, you have received a veto power. I looked at my own name. Chloe, 0% of points spent. That's right. From the very beginning, I hadn't used a single point. The 100,000 that appeared in my account at the start was money I had saved up from birthdays and holidays since I was a kid. I just pretended it was from the app, a smokescreen to throw them off. Veto power. It meant that even if someone found out about my reset app later and started a vote against me, I could veto it with a single vote. It was basically a get-out-of-jail-free card. And this veto power, last time it belonged to Ethan. He had been worried about side effects and hadn't spent any points. He got rich by taking everyone else's rewards. And on the fourth day he was granted the veto power. But when everyone voted to take my points, he chose to abstain. This time, I was curious to see who the first unlucky person would be. Ethan's gaze swept over to me. Chloe, you still have points in your account, right? You need to be careful. Now that Kevin and his gang have no points, they might come after those of us who have more. I shrank back, pretending to be scared. I have a little left. I'll be really careful. What should I do? I'll listen to you. After evening study hall let out, Ethan sent a message to everyone in our high score group. Vote for Kevin. Let's get him out first. After reading it, a small smile played on my lips. What a hypocrite. To Kevin's face, he said there was no need to take anyone's rewards. Then he turned around and was the first to vote him out. Last time, Kevin didn't get eliminated this early. He was working with Ethan. One of them came up with the plans, the other used threats and intimidation to control the other students. I never thought that this time, Ethan would target him first. I didn't plan on using my veto power, because it would be much more useful to me later. However, the class president also received the message, and he seemed very hesitant. Why do we have to take someone else's rewards? Some of the things people got, you might not even need them. I narrowed my eyes at him. If I remembered correctly, out of the 28 students in our class, he was the only one who on the very first day used his points to get his divorced parents back together. It cost 200 points, and he didn't even blink. After that, he never used his remaining points for anything else. Last time, when everyone voted to take my rewards, he was the one who secretly told me to be careful of Ethan. And he was the second person to be targeted after me. At first, no one cared about his parents getting back together reward, so no one voted for him. But he had over 300 points left in his account, which made others very jealous. Even as the deadline approached and prices went up, his points were still worth a huge amount of money. Since I knew he wasn't a bad person, and I now had the veto power, I didn't need to act anymore. I couldn't help but quietly warn him. If you speak up for Kevin now, you'll be the next one they go after. The class president's face instantly went pale. He gave a bitter smile. If they really need it, they can just have it all. I shook my head. This guy still thought too highly of people. The 5th day of the points exchange app. Kevin has received 15 votes, out of a total of 28. More than half of the students have voted to divide his rewards. This app has determined that his rewards are hereby cancelled. As soon as I walked into the classroom, the phone notification sounded again. At the same time, anyone who had voted received a sum of money in their account. Last night, whenever someone pressed the vote button, a prompt would appear. Are you sure you want to divide Kevin's rewards? Once divided, Kevin will be erased by the system. It wasn't just about dividing rewards, it was the power to erase someone. This step deterred some people. After all, they didn't have any deep-seated hatred for him. There was no need to wish him dead. Ethan, the rich kid, and their group of student leaders, plus me, made up 14 votes. Both the class president and I chose to abstain. But Kevin was still voted out by a high margin, which meant what? Someone in Kevin's own faction wanted him gone. My gaze shifted to Lily across the room. Her expression was distant and distracted. It was obvious she was the traitor. Kevin's face had already turned a deathly gray. He pounded his fists on the desk frantically. Then he charged over to us, looking crazed. It was you, wasn't it? You all voted for me? You want to kill me? Fine. You all act so righteous, but you're just a bunch of rats hiding in the dark. With that, he started wildly attacking people on our side. Several students were caught in the chaos. Until the system's notification sound rang out again. Punishment for Kevin has been issued. In an instant, Kevin froze as if he'd been struck by lightning, motionless for several seconds. His eyes immediately became vacant. He just stared blankly back at his desk. Like a puppet on strings, he opened a book and began to read from the textbook in a monotone voice. I knew that Kevin was no longer Kevin. He had thoughts, he could eat and sleep. But his soul had been stolen by the app. That's what happened to me last time. What happened to Kevin was a wake-up call for everyone. The person whose rewards were taken would become a mindless zombie like Kevin. But there were still many names on the app's list of people with zero balances. Kevin was just the first to be voted out because he was a bully and used his strength to intimidate others. But who would be next? Looking at the extra money in their accounts, who could resist the temptation? Soon, Lily stood up and looked at us coldly. I know it was you high scorers who voted for Kevin. You talk a big game about not taking our rewards, but secretly you want to kill us off one by one, right? Fine, then we have nothing to lose. Let's all just hit zero. Quickly, Kevin's old faction began to act. They targeted students who were alone. They cornered them and forced them to spend all the points in their app. Their logic was that if everyone's score was 0, then everyone was at risk of being voted out, which would make the game fair. It was, admittedly, the best solution at the moment. The two factions had been roughly equal in number. But Kevin's group was mostly made up of underachievers, many of whom were no strangers to fights. They targeted the weaker, less assertive students and forcibly zeroed out their accounts. Soon, the number of people on Ethan and the rich kids' side began to shrink. The list on my Reset app grew longer and longer. All it would take was a flick of my finger, and they would all be wiped out. Lily snuck out of the classroom. Ethan followed soon after. I watched all this silently. The class president looked very troubled. During the break, he secretly came over to me. "Can't we stop this from happening? People are going to die. Can they really just kill someone for money? They know. But it's gotten to this point. They've all lost their minds. Do you really think they care about anyone else's life now?" As I spoke, I suddenly looked at him. "Want to see a good show?" The class president didn't understand. I then walked out of the classroom as well. In the corner by the restrooms, Lily had her arms around Ethan's waist, speaking in a flirtatious tone. "I did what you said. I voted Kevin out and spread the idea of everyone zeroing out. Now they're trying to zero out everyone, and I'm really worried about you." Ethan wrapped his arm around her shoulder possessively. He said smugly, "Don't worry, I'll be fine. These idiots haven't figured out how the app really works. They have no idea that their lives are completely in my hands." "Lily, do you really have the Reset app? You can just take anyone's rewards whenever you want?" Ethan smiled and pinched her nose. "What are we now? Why would I lie to you? As long as you listen to me and do what I say, after tomorrow, I'll reset everyone's rewards, and all that massive wealth will be ours." Lily said, "And you promised to transfer points to me. Is that true? Kevin's old group has gone crazy. I'm scared they'll find out I was the mole." "Ethan, you just need to stay undercover for one more day. On the last day, I'll definitely transfer the points to you to make sure your account doesn't get zeroed out." Lily looked a little suspicious. "You better not be lying to me. Also, I've had enough of Chloe. Tonight, get your people to vote for her. Get her out." Done. I secretly ended the video recording on my phone. My mind was reeling. Ethan had a Reset app too. No wonder he sold me out last time. It was all to protect his own secret. Before they could notice me, I quickly pulled the class president into hiding. After thinking for a few seconds, I sent the video from an anonymous account to the class group chat. Ethan was planning to come after me next. If people found out I still had so many points, even if my Reset app wasn't exposed, I would be voted out. But once this video was out, the one in danger wasn't me anymore. It was Ethan. This time, I wanted to see how he'd handle it. Wants to be the alpha wolf. Beside me, the class president had a complicated expression. "A Reset app? Why does Ethan have an extra app?" I didn't say anything, just looked at him. "Ethan holds everyone's lives in his hands. What do you want to do? Tell the others and vote him out first, since he's the biggest threat?" My question was actually a test. I needed an ally. But if he made the same choice most people made last time, then he was no different from Ethan and the others. And my get-out-of-jail-free card wouldn't be used to protect him. The class president thought for a long time, then gave a bitter smile. "Isn't there another option? A way for no one to have to die?" I sighed. "There is one way, but no one will do it." "What is it?" "Return everything you got from the app, exactly as you received it. The only way to truly avoid the app's backlash is to not use its rewards." This rule was actually easy to figure out. It's why I had refused to use my points all along. The class president's face stiffened. After a long moment, he looked at me. "Return it to the app? Do you know what I traded for? I got my divorced parents back together. When I went home and saw them acting like they were in love again, our family just sitting down for a quiet dinner, do you know how happy I was? This app is truly magical." I understood his feelings. A happy family is more important than money. But have you ever thought about it? An app this powerful, it's beyond all logic and rules. Even if your parents are back together now, is it because they truly want to be? Are they still in love? Or are they just puppets being controlled by the system? After a long pause, the class president seemed to have figured something out. He nodded and took out his phone. Without hiding it from me, he typed in return rewards. Instantly, his SAT score returned. 635 points. Only after he had done this did he look at me. You've never used your points for anything either, have you? You saw things more clearly than I did. Faced with such a huge temptation, I couldn't resist. Not exactly. I had just been through this all once before. The class president decided to tell the whole class about this option, to let them choose for themselves. I sighed helplessly. Even if they knew, no one would do it. The 6th day of the exchange app. There were already 22 people with zeroed out accounts. They were filled with resentment, eyeing each other with suspicion. Ethan stood at the front of the classroom, on the teacher's podium, with Lily by his side. Now, all of your accounts have been zeroed out. Any one of you could be voted out. Don't think we're on the same level. I know you all saw the video someone posted in the group chat. That's right. I have an extra app. I can reset all of you with one click, no voting required. Don't even try to grab my phone. You can see for yourselves whose hands are faster, yours or mine, as I press the button. At this point, out of 28 students, 22 had become Ethan's captives. Only Ethan, the rich kid, the class president, and I were left. The rich kid was smart. He had hired 2 other students to be his bodyguards. They stuck together, preventing anyone from forcibly zeroing them out. Now only 6 people still had points in their accounts. Everyone was staring at Ethan like a pack of hungry wolves. The class president and I had just walked in. Ethan frowned and gestured for me to come over. Chloe, come over here with me. I have the app that controls everyone's lives. I can keep you safe. Safe my ass. More like he wanted to be the first to kill me. I crossed my arms and stood by the door, not moving. The class president stood protectively in front of me. Seeing this, Ethan's expression soured. He gave the class president a long, hard look. Then he announced again. From now on, I make the rules. Don't worry, we were all good classmates. I won't erase anyone without reason. We're a class, a team. We should share the honor and the rewards. Now everyone take out your phones. I'm going to have Lily go around and register the rewards each of you has traded for. We'll consider whose rewards would be the most optimal to divide up. Ethan's move was truly vicious. He would prioritize taking the rewards of those who had traded for money. As for the other miscellaneous rewards that weren't worth taking, their owners would become his followers, forced to do his bidding. Under the threat of his reset app, the others had no choice but to take out their phones and register all their rewards. When it was the class president's turn, he couldn't hold back any longer. Everyone, calm down. This app is the devil's fruit. Don't get in any deeper. As long as you return everything you got, nothing bad will happen. Ethan scoffed. At a time like this, Mr. President, do you really think anyone will believe that? Returning our rewards to the app. How is that any different from being reset? Everyone has put in the blood, sweat, and tears for this. Are you trying to take everyone's rewards for yourself? Whispers broke out below. Student B, he's right. How am I supposed to return it now? I got over 10 million. I've spent millions on a mansion, a luxury car, and partying these past few days. How can I give that back? Student A, I traded for an extra 8 inches in height. How do I return that? I don't want to be a shorty again. No way. Ethan, as long as you don't reset me, I'll be your dog from now on. I'll come whenever you call. Most people couldn't return their rewards for various reasons. A small minority thought that as long as they clung to Ethan, they would be fine. As expected, the opportunity was right in front of them, but no one would take it. Ethan tapped his finger on the desk, and everyone immediately fell silent. Our class president is so selfless, isn't he? You must have a lot of points, right? In that case, let's use you to test the new rules. Everyone vote. Let's send our dear president on his way. Now all the zero balance students had become Ethan's lackeys. To show their loyalty, almost all of them took out their phones and voted for the class president. The class president looked at everyone with disappointment, then finally at me. He gave a bitter smile and said goodbye. I watched the scene unfold quietly, and also took out my phone. Use veto power? I clicked use. The voting system happened twice a day, morning and evening. The punishment would be carried out the next day. The class president was voted out, but I vetoed it. But everyone else, including Ethan, thought he was a dead man walking. Soon it was my turn. I refused to take out my phone to register my rewards. Lily, now Ethan's right-hand woman, surrounded me with other students. Everyone else registered. Why are you the special exception? You must have gotten a ton of money. After all, you had a high score. I remained unfazed. I just stared at her with a cold smile. You're right. I got a lot of money. And I'm not registering it. Go ahead, vote for me if you have the guts. There was only one day left anyway. I was done pretending. Might as well reveal myself as the alpha wolf. Lily's eyes were filled with venom. Soon she sneered. If you're asking for death, don't blame me for being cruel. Ethan, let's just reset her. I chuckled. You can vote for me, but you don't have any points left in your account. Tomorrow, you'll be the one who's dead. Lily's eyes darted nervously. She gritted her teeth. Ethan won't vote for me. Ethan also looked at me, his voice softening as he tried to persuade me. Chloe, don't break my rules. What I said to you before still stands. As long as you agree to be with me, I will definitely keep you safe. Besides, didn't you trade for a spot at Harvard? That's not an easy reward to divide up. Even if you reveal it, you'll be safe. Ethan spoke with such confidence. But I just laughed. Who told you I traded for a spot at Harvard? Sorry, but I still believe in getting in on my own merit. Ethan's face turned ugly. He had clearly gotten used to being the center of attention. He couldn't stand anyone defying him anymore. He sighed. You're making this very difficult for me. If I show you special treatment, others will talk. I'm doing this for the good of the group. So, I have no choice but to vote you out. I nodded. You really act like an emperor now, don't you? Holding everyone's life and death in your hands. At that moment, everyone seemed to wake up. The rich kid's eyes shifted, and he secretly pulled out his phone. I glanced down at my own phone under the desk. A message had just been sent a minute ago. As soon as Ethan's points are zeroed out, he'll be just like everyone else. The palace coup was about to begin. The 7th day of the exchange app. More than a dozen more students in the class were now wandering around in a daze. To prevent anyone from forming secret alliances and voting against him, Ethan had reset them with a single click yesterday. They had become vacant puppets. Seeing that the class president and I were fine, looking completely normal, Ethan stroked his chin. It seems my guess was correct. As long as you have points in your account, you can't be voted out. Wrong. It was only because I used my veto power to save both the class president and myself. The rich kid had apparently figured this rule out too. He stood up, hands in his pockets. Did you all see that? The class president and Chloe were voted for yesterday, but nothing happened to them. What does that tell you? People with points in their accounts can't be voted out. Ethan has the reset app now. He can kill us at any time and take our rewards. Shouldn't we do something? Are we really going to let him control us? There were only 6 people left with points in their accounts, including those who hadn't been reset by Ethan. There were 8 of us. Besides the class president, myself, and Lily. The rich kid had 5 people with him. They rushed towards Ethan. Ethan seemed to have been prepared. He quickly tried to press the button on his phone. But at that moment, Lily, who was standing right next to him, saw her chance. She snatched Ethan's phone and walked over to the rich kid's side. With the phone in her hand, she quickly zeroed out Ethan's points. Then she looked at him with a playful smile. Sorry, Ethan. I'm just not comfortable with one person holding everyone's lives in their hands. I was in awe. In just a few short days, Lily had betrayed 2 people. She was a natural-born spy. Ethan probably never expected Lily to betray him. You betrayed me? You're dead. Lily shook her head. Ethan, feelings are fake, but money is real. I was completely on your side, but you were still hung up on that bitch Chloe. You broke my heart, so you can't blame me for betraying you. With that, she turned to the rich kid. Now Ethan has no points, just like us. Everyone can vote him out. The rich kid, like a victor, had become Ethan's replacement. Ethan sneered and quickly backed up to the window. He pulled a new phone out of his pocket. I knew you'd betray me, you bitch. I was prepared for you. You think you can kill me? Only I can control the reset app. Any phone in my hands will have it reinstalled. Did you really think I didn't have a backup plan? As he spoke, he quickly clicked the reset button for Lily. A crazed laugh escaped his lips. If I'm going down, we're all going down together. Lily was stunned. She probably never imagined Ethan had another phone, or that he had figured out the hidden rules. Just as Ethan was about to click the reset buttons for the others, I took out my phone. Ethan, did it ever occur to you that you might not be the only one with a reset app? Before he could act, I pressed the reset button next to his name. It was the only time I would ever use this button, saved especially for Ethan. As for Lily, my plan was just to trick her into spending her points early. I never thought they would end up turning on each other. Soon, the remaining people received Ethan's rewards in their accounts. The color drained from Ethan's face completely. He looked at me with dawning horror. So that's how it is. You were playing dumb this whole time? You were the real wolf. He gave a bitter smile as the rich kid and his group swarmed him. They tied his hands and feet to prevent him from using the app again. I didn't stop any of it until the rich kid's gaze fell on me. So you were the one who sent me the message? I smiled faintly. That's right, it was me. And don't even think about trying to take my phone. I've checked the time. In 1 minute, this app will be completely useless. Even if you get everyone to vote now, it won't work. I have veto power. I'll be fine no matter what. The rich kid fell silent. He found a seat and sat down, crossing his legs. Don't worry, let's cooperate. The few of us who are left have already accumulated plenty of rewards. We don't need yours. You don't mess with me. I don't mess with you. We'll just get through today peacefully, sound good? The class president had been watching us the whole time. Now he slowly walked over to me. He looked at me with a complicated expression. Yesterday, when they voted for me, was it you who saved me? I nodded, not denying it. He whispered a quiet thank you. Just then, a loud electronic voice filled the classroom. SAT points exchange app is now permanently disabled. Humanity instance 289 concluded. Survivors 6. Experiment failed. Number of participants who did not use the exchange app 2. All accounts will now be reset. Those who use the exchange app will receive an ultimate punishment. Those who did not use the exchange app will receive an SAT boost. Wishing all students success on the SATs and acceptance into your dream schools. This time, the faces of the few remaining survivors changed. I sighed. I had seen this coming. Hadn't they noticed? Ever since this app appeared, not a single teacher had shown up. No one from the school had stopped their bizarre behavior. But everyone's senses had been clouded. No one realized something was wrong. On the day of the SATs, everyone returned to normal, their minds clear again. Many of them started fistfights with the people who had voted for them. Others went on to take the exam as planned. But after everything that had happened, some were too shaken to perform well. Some people's minds went blank, they couldn't remember a single thing they had studied. And some had completely lost their minds, insisting they were millionaires and who the hell needed college. Ethan, in particular, had a breakdown during the exam and started attacking people. He was eventually taken away by the police. Lily didn't even show up for the test. She went into hiding. I don't know what the ultimate punishment was for the rich kid and the others. But for this graduating class, out of 28 students, 26 of them bombed the SATs. Only the class president and I felt energized, our minds sharp, and we took the test in peak condition. When the scores came out, both of us were surprised. Our scores were even higher than what the app had shown. We both got into our dream schools. Was this the reward the app had promised? It was more than enough. There are no shortcuts in life. You have to take it one step at a time. Only then can you walk towards a better future. The day before I left for college, the class president asked to meet up. He was ecstatic. He told me that the strange events in our class had made the news. The story was that it was all due to exam-related stress. His parents had been so worried about his mental state that they had stayed with him for the past 2 months. The reason they had divorced in the first place was because they couldn't agree on how to raise him. Now their relationship had improved, and they had decided to remarry. It turned out that even without the app's help, his wish of having his family back together could still come true. I smiled. Maybe this is the app's real reward for you? After all, I had gotten my acceptance letter from Harvard. We looked at each other and smiled. Until the next year. My cousin came to stay at my house to study for her SATs. I noticed an extra app on her phone. The gray icon of the SAT Points Exchange app lit up once more. SAT Horror Instance 290 has been successfully activated. Searching for the next batch of hosts. Instance name, the SAT Countdown Loop. App binding successful. A look of pure terror crossed my face. The end.